Hello, good evening, everyone. I am Anish, a fourth year student at the National Law School Bangalore and also the founder of National Law Training Institute. Today, we have Saher Gole among us. Saher needs no introduction, her performance speaks for itself. She got All India Rank 1 in AILET 2025 and All India Rank of 15 in CLAT 2025. We all are very proud of her achievement and we all look forward to having this conversation with her today. So, Saher, tell us a little about yourself, where you come from, which stream did you take in 11th and 12th? How long have you been preparing, and a bird's eye view of your preparation in general?
So I come from Mumbai. I started preparing for CLAT back in grade 11, but I only took it seriously from grade 12 after my 11th finals. I was enrolled in a coaching for the 2 year classroom program. So for CLAT, I think I mostly focused on doing the mocks. I made notes for GK. I did my own research. I read newspapers, and it was a lot about mostly practice, doing the PYQs, mocks, analyzing them, and learning from my mistakes.
Right. So, Sahel, when the results came out, first CLAT and then AILET, were you expecting such a good rank, and were you expecting to face this dilemma of whether I need to go to NLS or NL Delhi? How was your reaction? How was your parents' reaction? How did you take the result, and how were you able to process it ultimately that you have gotten such a good rank?
So the CLAT result was very obviously unexpected because it was supposed to come out on the 10th and it came out a
Yeah.
night before AILET. So I actually hadn't checked even the provisional answer key, so I had no idea about my marks, and it was all over the place. The
Okay.
questions were wrong, etc. So I checked it in like a haze. I still wasn't sure whether I would get to keep my rank because there were rumors going around that the real scores will come out on the 10th, and what you're getting right now is just a provisional one. So yeah, there was
Mm-hmm.
anxiety even after receiving my rank. I gave
Yeah.
AILET and I was a bit more happy about my AILET performance. I felt the paper went a lot better, but I wasn't expecting I had won for sure.
Right. Sir, people are very curious to know how could you score 130 out of 150. I think people are just saying it's humanly not possible to score such a good score. Tell us your experience. Did you prepare specifically for A-Late or was it just a byproduct of your CLAT preparation? How did you feel while writing the A-Late paper and how did you feel after writing the A-Late paper?
So before writing the AILET paper, my parents like told me don't take it lightly. You have to give the paper the respect it deserves. Because I thought
Yeah.
like just because I have a decent rank in class does not mean I don't take it seriously. So preparation for AILET, I hadn't done anything differently. I just made one-liner notes for GK, which did
Okay.
help eventually. A lot of the questions that came up in the AILET paper, I had encountered them while making notes for CLAT. I remembered specifically. Nothing much. I'd done AR, analytical reasoning separately, clocks and calendars, coding, recording, stuff like that.
Yeah.
While giving the AILET paper, I wasn't really focused on. I think I was enjoying the process because AR is fun, right? And the paper was kind of the easier side. GK was moderate, but since I knew most of the questions, that was also chill. After the paper,
Yeah.
I was glad that it was over, and that was the paper I checked the answer key for, so I was happy about it afterwards also.
How much were you scoring as per the provisional answer key?
So after I checked the answer key, I included the mistakes they had made. So initially
Okay.
it was 121.25, which was increased to 130 in the final answer.
130. Right. Seher, so you were a part of our Super 30 program, and we also saw you in NLTI. What do you think how NLTI contributed to your prep, and how were we able to make a difference in your preparation and you achieving such a good rank ultimately?
Yeah, I think I remember the day I got the mail that I got into NLT. I was really glad. I attended a lot of the mentorship sessions. I think there were weekly mentorship sessions. Even
Yeah.
like the week leading up to class, there were a couple sessions about what to do on the day of, the night before, etc. And they really helped me. I remember asking certain questions, like what to do if the there are questions wrong in the real CLAT, etc. So there's a sense of relatability during your preparation, and since you're getting advice from people who were sitting at NLS Bangalore, it there's an additional layer of credibility also. So it did help a lot.
Right. Sir, what happened after your CLAT result? Like, how did you process it? Uh, I'm assuming there must be smiles around. Did you take time out to enjoy with your family, to go out with your friends? What was the entire scene like after? I understand after CLAT it was just AILET immediately after, but you can tell us about how the AILET results went by.
Nothing much really. I was happy. My parents were happy. My friends were happy. Everyone was happy. But then I had to get back and study for my boards because I hadn't really studied for a very long time. So it's stress for that right now.
Okay. So started your boards prep now?
Yeah.
All right, all right. So, Syed, we'll just briefly go over the strategy that one should follow for each of the sections because aspirants who are watching this video must be wanting you to talk about your strategy behind achieving such a good rank. So, we'll let's say spend 2 minutes on each of the sections, starting with English. You can tell us what your sources were, how you prepared for RC and RC passages. Did you follow something specific for tones, literary devices, all these questions? Basically a bird's eye view of your strategy for each of the sections.
So I think English has always been my strong suit. Was never bad at it. So I didn't really go out of my
Yeah,
way to prepare for English in the way you do for logic or legal, because it is just reading comprehension, right? You read the passage, you answer the questions. For figures of speech and tones, I think there are lists available online, especially using when they give certain difficult words, but that's just vocabulary. You just need to understand the
yeah.
meaning of the words. Nothing really. I practiced sectionals, coaching module questions, and of course the mocks. Nothing exceptional. Yeah.
So people suggest that you should indulge yourself in diverse readings, go on Aon essays, go on all these websites. Did you also find yourself using these websites for diverse reading?
I started Aeon, but it was too long. So I used to read the Guardian, the
Okay,
news pages as well as the opinion pages, but it wasn't very disciplined, consistent reading. Whenever I got the free time or whenever I was in the mood, I just used to read it. Yeah.
all right. Moving on to the GK section again. GK hasn't been on expected lines for the last 2 years now, and nobody knows what CLAT 26 would ask. Will it be from the passage or from external knowledge, as has been the convention? So, what do you suggest? How should people go about their GK preparation for CLAT 26? That might include both the types of passages, both the types of questions. One that come from the passage, some subjectivity is also there, or some questions that are completely objective based on your knowledge and preparation.
So I'd say a lot of the questions in CLAT 2025 were very contextual. They didn't ask very factual questions. They asked about
Yeah,
I think there was a question on what do Western economists think about BRICS and so on. So these questions, I think, if you just mug up about BRICS, you won't be able to answer that. If you read about
right,
it otherwise, so suppose in a newspaper or an editorial, that makes answering it a lot more easier. So I would advise newspaper reading. Uh, it also helps with, of course, the English and the other reading sections, and also because it gives you an expert perspective on the world issues. For GK, otherwise, the usual sources, all the sources available on the internet are good. They usually revolve around the same topic, so any source is good.
right.
I didn't make my own notes. I made a lot of notes, and I felt like my GK preparation was kind of wasted because of what came in the CLAT paper, but it did pay off in AILET, so it worked out.
Right. Yeah. One question is how do you research? Like when you talk about researching for a topic, which are sources did you refer to while researching? Was it Wikipedia? Was it Drishti IS, Vision IS, coaching modules? Definitely. But how did you go about researching a topic?
So I mostly use Wikipedia because I know a lot of people look down upon it, but this is not like a PhD grade exam. It's just like
Definitely.
UG.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Wikipedia also the hyperlinks are very useful. That too, not like a deep dive in Wikipedia, just the introductory paragraphs, and there's the boxes on the side, like the head of
Yeah.
this, the founding year, the act, and so on. That helps, and Wikipedia also helps you build links, right? Like for example, the Vigyan Ratna Awards. So what did they replace? They replaced the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Awards. Now, who was Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar? He was the first head of CSIR. Then who's the current head of CSIR? So it builds a very good
Yeah.
chain around the topics. I did use
Right.
Drishti, but it wasn't very useful because it's too much in depth, I think.
Yeah. Right. Moving on to legal, Saher, one question is, should you focus more on theory, like contracts, torts, criminal laws, or do you focus more on contemporary issues like abortion, something around Article 370, something around defamation, all these things? So how should one go about their legal preparation?
Uh, I I was not very good at legal always. So I was told by my teachers to just read editorials on the important judgments. So for us, it was I think the 370 and then the Assam thing and so on. So I just
Yeah,
read stuff about the current issues, and of course all they always ask about fundamental rights, the constitutional issues and so on. So that happens with the mocks with practice. So I don't think you need to do anything extra for the questions they keep asking. That's covered in the mocks and the practice modules and so on. For the current issues, just read stuff about it and you'll be familiarized with the terms they use, the legal jargon, and so on.
right. We'll move on to the CR section, Saher. NCR is one of the most dreadful sections for CLAT aspirants. They have a very hard time figuring out what CR is and how do we ultimately score good in that particular section. So, what would be your advice for CLAT 26 aspirants? How should they approach CR in a structured manner since they have 12 months to go right now? How should they go about their CR preparation? Like first focusing on fundamentals and then practicing and then ultimately scoring good.
I think I'd agree with focusing on very like just classify the type of questions, right? So practice strengthening, weakening separately, practice inference based questions, practice detail based questions. It doesn't matter if it's just like a passage or a statement. You need to get the logic right first. If you have the right logic, you can answer it correctly, be it in any form, be it a long passage, a short passage, or whatever. So if your fundamentals are clear, then you can deal with any form of CR. And try to view CR as kind of an extension of English because I think even in English they tend to ask inference or tone or whatever. These two sections are very overlapping. So if you're good in one,
Right.
you tend to be good in the other also.
Right. Sir, what about QT? Were you naturally good at QT? Because some people have that instinct that they are inherently good at QT, while some others have a hard time figuring out how to go about QT and DI. Which side did you fall on, and how did you ultimately? What score did you get in CLAT, and how did you prepare for QT?
I wasn't great at it. I wasn't very quick at it. I took like 20 minutes always. I never completed it in like 10, 15 minutes. That's what people say.
Hmm.
I've gotten scores of like 0.5 on 12 and also gotten 12 on 12. So it was very fluctuating. It depended on what kind of math section there was and what the other sections were like. So if the other sections took a lot of my time in the mocks, there would be no time left for math. So it was
Hmm.
always very fluctuating. In the actual flat, I left two questions and I think I got one wrong. So I didn't get a
Okay.
perfect score, but it's still great.
And in CLAT, the second passage, what I have heard, was quite difficult. So I think it's a great score, even from CLAT perspective, that you got only two questions incorrect. Uh, Seher, one last piece of advice that you would want to give CLAT 26 aspirants before we wrap up this section, this session, this interview. Anything that you want to tell them? How should they go about their preparation now that they have 12 months to go?
I'd say more important than the preparation because everyone gets that part right mostly. Is like when you're in the hall, just calm down because whatever mistakes I remember the AR set. If I'm struggling with this set or if it's very weird or difficult or wrong, it's wrong for everyone. So the important thing is to not panic because a lot of people, even though they know what question is asked, they goof up because they panic or because they are emotionally volatile. I was one of those people. I used to freak out a lot during the mocks, but since I was used to that, I gave a lot of mocks. I was okay. I calmed down during the real clat. It didn't freak me out as much. So just be put together. Yeah.
Right. Sarah, just one last question before we wrap this up. Would you recommend NLTI for future aspirants, for CLAT 26 aspirants who are starting out their preparation?
Yes, definitely I would because even if you are enrolled in a coaching to get to talk to people who are at NLS to have your doubts resolved. And I remember these were very specific doubts. Like the questions like how much time do you take to fill the OMR? And these are very minute specific things which can only be answered by people who've been sitting in the hall and who came out with a good result. So it definitely helps in such areas.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Sahar. It was a
Thank
pleasure
you.
having you here, and we really look forward to having you on campus next July. Till then, feel free to reach out to us whenever you have any doubts and if you want to know about anything before you come to Bangalore in July next year. Thank you so much again. Have a really good day. Bye bye.
Bye.